I looked, basically searched online for different examples of programs in water, watershed management, flooding, droughts, and I basically found that there's a lot of programs out there. There's not a lot of new programming, and it's more like with climate change, this kind of programming is just more important than ever. The photograph here is kind of a proof that we always say, don't build your house in the floodplain next to the river. Another way of saying that is building your house in a floodplain is like setting up your tent on a highway when no cars are coming. All right, so I looked online. I did not find a whole lot of extension programs about water and watershed management that had climate in the title, and that's okay. I did find several, and I will be talking about these. In Nevada, we had University of Nevada Cooperative Extension helped found Northern Nevada Flood Awareness Week. And in many areas, climate change does mean we're going to have larger floods in the future. Now, that's not true in every state, and the National Climate Assessment predicts that there won't be really larger floods in Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. But in California and Nevada, we have the atmospheric river storms in the winter, and we've had recent enough flooding that there is funding available through Division of Emergency Management, so you may be able to find funding to do a program in this. We have a watershed group on the Carson River, and one of our main messages of the group has been to protect floodplains, and that's been since 2001. Steve Lewis and I worked on an inventory of land in our Carson River floodplain in the Carson Valley, land that has been protected through conservation easements or public ownership, so that it won't be converted to urban infrastructure. And so that was a tool to help educate the community about the importance of that goal. Of course, it also improves or protects habitat and water quality. Steve Lewis and I have led flash flood tours. We also get flash floods in our part of the state in Douglas County, which is near Carson City. It's northern Nevada, not close to Las Vegas, although they have huge flash floods there as well. And this was an opportunity to inform people about alluvial fans, and that these two alluvial fans, they happen to both. You can see the flood deposits there. Both alluvial fans, their flood deposit converged on this small subdivision. So that got the people's attention. We're working with the county, which is received a lot of complaints, to try to come up with ways to work on this problem. The next two programs are in the Midwest, Minnesota and Wisconsin. Both of these were featured in the climate webinars for the Climate Science Initiative, which is a program Mark mentioned. ANREP and Chris Jones is here speaking in this session. He founded that Climate Science Initiative. These webinars are very helpful. So NEMO is Non-Point Education for Municipal Officials. It's a national program based on the idea that land use decisions are mostly made at the local level. So we're going to educate local officials about this. And in the webinar that John Bellotta presented, he talked about storyboards as a method for talking about technical and difficult and controversial issues. So in this particular case, we have a storyboard, which is basically, it's a poster. It's like an academic poster, but much better illustrated, not as many words on it, easy for people to get the idea. And then a storyteller, which would be us, the extension specialist or educator. Here's an example of a storyboard using the green, yellow, red format. Recent storms delivered, the 10-year storm was thought to be 3.9 inches of water in 24 hours. The moderate IPC projection is that that's going to rise to 6.6 inches by 2050, and the pessimistic projection is going to rise to 10.1 inches by 2050. So this gives people, so the extension storyboards are teaching people about the projections of the different climate models. In this particular storyboard, people were given an opportunity to, after discussion and after uh, more education, to actually vote for the green infrastructure projects they thought they'd most like to see in their community. So this is an example in Minnesota. Next door in Wisconsin, Mindy Habecker and David Label uh, put together a program called Climate Ready Communities. This was in Dane County, which is the county that hosts Madison, Wisconsin, and the University of Wisconsin. It's a fairly progressive town, and the county executive, the county manager, said, we're going to have climate adaptation planning for the whole county. All county departments are going to participate. And probably the reason for that was that one of the reasons was that they had a big storm in 2008. The river gauges broke all kinds of records, 810 miles land flooded, community wastewater treatment plant overflowed 90 million gallons of raw sewage and so forth, and $34 million of damage claims were paid. So that got their attention. So the county manager wanted to have this adaptation planning, and he called on Cooperative Extension to facilitate the whole process, which lasted more than a year. All kinds of meetings. They had 22 department heads on the team. They went all the way from understanding climate impact, so teaching about the climate projections, doing vulnerability assessments, looking at the bigger heat waves, the bigger floods, and so forth, and then planning for adaptation strategies. Now, the outcome of that program are astounding. The next year, Dane County spent $1.3 million on everything from radios for their emergency vehicles, buying new all-weather four-wheel drive sheriff's vehicles, getting tree removers, $10,000 in sandbags, bigger plows for snowstorms, and so forth. And then the next year, they spent another $2 million on improving their adaptation for climate change at the county. Now, this one did not make all these programs so far have been on the 11 by 17. This one didn't make it, but it's University of Wisconsin Extension /climate. In Nevada, of course, we've had the drought. California and Nevada have had a severe 4-year drought. We may still be in it, although last winter we had more of a normal winter, which was helpful. But in any case, in 2014, Steve Lewis and I put on drought forums for agricultural producers, and we weren't quite sure how they would accept it. We didn't title it a climate change. We called it a drought forum. And that of course is a good lesson. You don't have to call it climate change, whether it's drought or flooding. People are interested in that, and it allows you an entree for talking about this. So we started with a survey as kind of an icebreaker. We asked several questions, but one of them was, do you think temperatures have increased over the last 50 years? Well, 90% of the people in the audience, the farmers, thought that it had. We asked them, what do you think about water supplies? Will they decrease over the next 20 years? Will they be reliable? Well, 80% thought they might decrease or be unreliable. There's also a webinar at ANREP. Dr. Fabian Manala talked at length about in detail about how he used abundance of cheatgrass in Montana to open the door for discussion of what the climate was doing and why cheatgrass might be increasing up there and what they should do about it. This next one, I was looking for watershed information. I found a program at Rutgers called the New Jersey Climate Adaptation Alliance. It's Rutgers University and other community organizations. And it's not necessarily an extension program, but they had a publication I was interested in, Best Practices for Watershed Management. So, wow, what are we going to do for climate change for watershed management? The publication listed accepted best management practices we've been teaching all along. We should infiltrate runoff from impervious surfaces, not just let it run into the nearest stream. Use green infrastructure, have riparian buffers, do water quality monitoring, restore streams and their floodplains. So the idea there is that good watershed management practices are going to be helpful as the climate changes, because our watersheds are so important and they're going to be stressed. This was put another way by Louis Tupas of NEFA, basically talking about current BMPs for everything from protecting air quality and vector-borne diseases to water quality. They just need to be emphasized and implemented. So it's not like we necessarily have to do new things in water, but the things that we've learned, management techniques about watershed management, are more important than ever. Thank you.